It's getting pretty late. It's about midnight, and I was just thinking about a lot of stuff, and I thought I'd make a video diary journal about it. So here's what's on my mind. If you don't really care what I'm thinking, just go do something else. My last video I put up was my favorite video I've ever made. It was about my old band, Astro Safari USA, and in the video I asked the question, like, should I get the band back together? Like, honestly, it was kind of a joke because it's always a funny joke, like, we're getting the band back together. But after I put the video out and a bunch of people sent me some messages and I got a little nostalgic watching back the old videos, I thought, well, what if I realistically could bring the band back together? Like, how would that even happen? So I started to brainstorm about it, and I thought it'd be a good idea just to start filming, and so I can just kind of take everyone through my process of trying to get the band back together and what's going on in my head, why it's not as simple as it sounds. So anyways, obviously now, a few years later, our last album came out in 2014, which I can't even believe it's been that long. And it's almost 2018. Things have changed for us a lot. JP and I, before I lived in the house I live now, JP and I lived in a big house together. It's basically just like a giant Astro Safari production house. We had all our computers and a recording setup and jam setup, and it was really the two of us sitting there making stupid songs and videos all day. And that wasn't always a good thing. We definitely drove each other crazy. We definitely had a lot of bad ideas. We weren't as productive as we should have been sometimes, even though we had everything we could have ever wanted to make whatever we wanted to. Sometimes we just were not very productive because it was always there. So there was never really an urgency to create, and I don't know. Fast forwarding to now, we live kind of far away from each other. We both live in LA, but it's a decent drive. So, you know, scheduling things is way different than it used to be, and obviously not easier, but way harder. And we live two totally different lifestyles. We always have, but especially now we live two totally different lifestyles. We're on different schedules. We have different goals. Everything's different now. Trying to get the wants and needs of JP and also the wants and needs of me and schedules and things to line up, it's not as simple as it was before. But it's not impossible. I think if I was persistent about it and I had specific goals in mind, that I could get them done over time, but it's going to be a struggle lining up the schedule and getting everything done in a good amount of time, especially if I want to get moving on this fast, which I kind of do, because there's no use in just sitting around and not doing it. Another difference is now we don't have a lot of the same resources we used to have. You know, we used to have our friends following us around and filming us all the time, and that's obviously not happening anymore. So I think if we were going to get the band back together, I would probably have to start doing a lot of that, like kind of vlog style filming us, rather than having a guy with a VCR strapped to his shoulder following us around. I think that I'd probably have to step up in that department a little bit and take care of that, which that's fine by me. I think that'll be fun, and that'll be something for me to put up on my channel every week. I'm sure it's going to be pretty interesting, especially I do think this time around, if we do get Astro Safari back together, our goals have to be way different than they were before. I'm not interested, and I speak for myself, not for JP, but I'm not interested in signing a record deal or having a TV show. Like, that's not really why I started making music, and with a little bit of time away from it, it's definitely not why I want to. The things I want to do in music has nothing to do with a bunch of old people in suits. I didn't realize, especially until I put this last video out, that like our band had as much of an impact on people outside of like our direct friend group You know, I thought our friends always liked our songs, but all kinds of people were telling me that, different memories they had with our music and how their music like got them through a tough time or made them have a great time, or they saw us live in concert and inspired them to like follow their dreams as musicians. Like, that's really cool, and that to me is why I like to make music. So that's what I want to continue to do, make music and videos that make people feel that way, rather than trying to chase a bunch of old people in suits to give me a check. Like, there's other ways to make money, so I don't really care about that. So if we come back, it's 100% have to be about entertaining like you, the fans, because there's no other reason for us to come back but for the fans. Now, I think everyone who has been a fan of our band and has followed us knows that like we won't stop at anything to entertain people. You know, I'll hide in a plastic bin for 30 minutes before a show, just sitting on stage waiting to surprise 10 people in the front row. I'm willing to break 50, probably, I don't know, 50 sheets of plywood in a summer with my back. There's not really anything I wouldn't do to entertain people and to make sure that people have a good time and get their money's worth. So I want to concentrate more on doing that and putting on the best performance and making the best music I can, and less about business and politics, because that stuff doesn't really make me happy. So hopefully I can keep all my goals in line, and I can go forward in trying to get the band back together in 2018. We started an album right before we broke up. We put out a couple songs off of it, Sherlock and Emo Song, and I really want to finish that album. I want to put it out in 2018, so that's going to be my goal. So my next video, my next kind of video diary will hopefully be a vlog on my next step, trying to get to JP's to finish this album up and give people what they want, and also give ourselves something really cool, a final piece of our trilogy. So thanks for following my video blog. If you haven't subscribed to my channel, you can subscribe below. Yeah, follow me on this journey.